TSMC doesn't just manufacture semiconductors, it holds the global economy by the throats. Here's what that looks like in practice. April 2024, a 7.4 magnitude earthquake strikes Taiwan's east coast. TSMC evacuates its fabrication plants, production halts for 15 hours. 15 hours! Barclays estimated the impact at $60 million. The real number was incalculable. Because every minute TSMC's machines stop, the world stops. Apple can't ship iPhones, Nvidia can't produce AI chips, AMD can't deliver server processors. The entire technology supply chain freezes. Not because of war, not because of sanctions, but because the ground shook on one island. TSMC manufactures over 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. Not 90% of a niche, not 90% of a region, 90% of everything that makes modern civilization function. Every single one of those chips passes through a facility on an island 180 kilometers from China. That's not a business model, that's a choke point. Engineered, maintained, and weaponized. In 1987, Morris Chang was 56 years old. He'd spent 3 decades at Texas Instruments, rising to the top of the American semiconductor industry, then hit a wall, passed over for CEO, exiled to a dead-end role. Most executives at that stage retire. Chang moved to Taiwan and started a company no one thought would work. The idea was radical, a pure-play foundry. TSMC would not design a single chip, it would only manufacture them. For anyone. Apple would design, Qualcomm would design, Nvidia would design, TSMC would build. At the time, semiconductor companies did everything themselves. Intel designed and manufactured its own chips. AMD did the same. The industry considered the foundry model naive. Why would competitors trust their most valuable designs to a third party? Chang's answer was simple: because we'll be better at it than they could ever be. He was right. By refusing to compete with its customers, TSMC removed the conflict of interest that made Intel's foundry untrustworthy. By focusing exclusively on manufacturing, it achieved economies of scale no integrated company could match. And by investing relentlessly in process technology, $30 to $40 billion annually in capital expenditure, it built a lead that became unassailable. Morris Chang didn't just disrupt the semiconductor industry, he rewired it so that every road led back to him. Here's what the monopoly looks like in numbers. TSMC controls 72% of the global semiconductor foundry market. But that number understates the reality. In advanced chips, the processors in your phone, your laptop, your car, every AI model, every missile guidance system, TSMC's share exceeds 90%. The customer list reads like the entire technology industry: Apple, Nvidia, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom, Intel. Yes, Intel, the company that once defined American chip manufacturing, now pays TSMC to fabricate its most advanced processors. In 2025, Nvidia overtook Apple as TSMC's largest customer. One company, 2 customers that control the consumer and AI markets, both entirely dependent on a factory in Taiwan. TSMC's annual revenue, nearly $90 billion. Market capitalization approaching $1 trillion, larger than the GDP of most countries. Its capital expenditure alone, $30 to $40 billion per year, exceeds the entire revenue of most semiconductor companies. But here's what they don't show you. TSMC's dominance isn't just about manufacturing, it's about a secondary monopoly most people have never heard of: advanced packaging. The technology is called CoWoS, chip on wafer on substrate. It's how high-performance chips are integrated into functioning systems, and TSMC controls it. Nvidia can design the most powerful AI chip in history. Without CoWoS packaging, it's a piece of silicon that does nothing. TSMC's packaging capacity grew from 13,000 wafers per month in 2023 to over 120,000 by 2026, and it still isn't enough. The AI industry's growth is bottlenecked not by design, not by demand, but by how fast TSMC can package chips. One factory, one technology, one bottleneck. The entire AI revolution, every ChatGPT query, every autonomous driving system, every military AI application depends on a single company's ability to keep expanding a packaging line in Taiwan. That's not a supply chain. That's a hostage situation. TSMC's monopoly isn't just economic, it's physical, and physics doesn't negotiate. Taiwan sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Earthquakes are constant. The April 2024 quake was a warning. 15 hours of downtime, $60 million in direct losses, an entire industry holding its breath. A larger quake, a direct hit on the Hsinchu Science Park, where TSMC's most advanced plants cluster. The consequences are unthinkable, not because the buildings would collapse, but because semiconductor manufacturing cannot be paused and restarted without catastrophic loss. Wafers in production at the moment of a shutdown are destroyed. Recovery takes weeks. Then there's water. Semiconductor fabrication consumes staggering quantities. TSMC uses over 200,000 metric tons per day, roughly 6.4% of Taiwan's industrial water. In 2021, a severe drought forced TSMC to truck water to its plants. The company spent millions to keep the lines running, while Taiwanese farmers watched their fields go dry. Taiwan's water supply is projected to face increasing stress through 2036. TSMC's consumption is projected to increase. One drought, one prolonged dry season. That's all it takes. And beneath all of it, the Taiwan Strait. 180 kilometers. That's the distance between TSMC's plants and the People's Liberation Army. China claims Taiwan as its territory. It has not ruled out force. Every military analyst who studies the Taiwan scenario reaches the same conclusion. In any conflict, TSMC's plants are either captured or destroyed. Either outcome produces the same result. The global semiconductor supply vanishes overnight. This isn't speculation, it's geography, it's geology, it's geopolitics, and none of it can be solved by a press release. Taiwan knows exactly how vulnerable it is. The strategy has a name: the Silicon Shield. The logic is blunt. If China invades Taiwan, it destroys the global semiconductor supply, including its own. China imports more semiconductors than it imports oil. Destroying TSMC means destroying China's technology sector, its AI ambitions, its military modernization. The Silicon Shield theory says China won't attack because the cost is too high, but shields erode. In March 2025, TSMC announced a $165 billion investment in Arizona, 3 new plants, 2 advanced packaging facilities, an R&D center. The first Arizona plant is already producing 4 nanometer chips at the same quality and efficiency as Taiwan's. By 2030, TSMC expects Arizona to produce a meaningful share of America's advanced chip supply. This is what the America First chip strategy looks like. The CHIPS Act, the subsidies, the pressure, the explicit goal: decouple the US semiconductor supply from Taiwan. Every chip TSMC makes in Arizona is a chip no longer protected by the Silicon Shield. Taiwan understands this. Its policymakers watch the Arizona expansion with growing alarm. Every plant built on American soil reduces China's incentive to leave Taiwan untouched. The Silicon Shield is being dismantled, not by China, but by America. Here's where it gets dangerous. The Arizona plants cannot replace Taiwan's capacity, not for a decade, not even close. So the world enters a transition period. long enough for the shield to erode, too short for an alternative to exist. The worst possible configuration of risk. TSMC built a monopoly that makes the world dependent on a single island. Now the world is trying to escape that dependency, and in doing so, it's making the island more vulnerable. The monopoly created the problem. Escaping the monopoly creates a new one. So what happens if TSMC goes offline? The semiconductor industry powers roughly $7 trillion in global economic activity. TSMC alone enables products worth trillions more. One estimate, a Taiwan Strait conflict that disrupts TSMC would cost the global economy $10 trillion in the first year. That's not a recession. That's a collapse. Your phone stops working, not because it breaks, but because no one can manufacture its replacement. Your car, modern vehicles contain up to 3,000 chips, becomes unrepairable. Medical devices, power grids, financial systems, every server running every cloud service, gone. Not gradually, not with warning, when the plants stop. The AI industry, which consumes an ever-growing share of TSMC's most advanced capacity, would simply cease to function. Every model, every data center, every company whose valuation depends on AI growth, poof. And in the chaos, China, the world's second-largest economy, also dependent on TSMC's chips, also facing its own technology collapse. But China has been preparing for decoupling, stockpiling equipment, accelerating indigenous manufacturing, building redundancy. The gap between Chinese and Western chip capabilities would close not because China caught up, but because the West fell off a cliff. This is the reality TSMC has manufactured for us. A world where the most critical infrastructure in human history is concentrated on a single island, in a single company, in facilities that can be disrupted by an earthquake, a drought, or a military order. Morris Chang built the most extraordinary manufacturing company in history. He also built the most dangerous single point of failure. TSMC doesn't just make chips. It manufactures the conditions under which the global economy operates. It decides who gets capacity, who gets priority, who gets left behind. It's not a supplier, it's a gatekeeper. And the gate is on an island that China claims, on a fault line that hasn't ruptured yet, in facilities that consume water faster than nature can replenish it. The world has outsourced its technological sovereignty to a single company. Not because of a conspiracy, not because of a hostile takeover, because Morris Chang was smarter than everyone else, and because no one built an alternative until it was too late. The monopoly is complete, the shield is eroding, and the ground in Taiwan keeps shaking. If you want to keep unmasking the invisible forces that run our world, make sure to subscribe. This is The Blueprint. Thanks for watching.